Talking about investment, I do apologize for that technical hitch. We are looking at making sense of shillings and cents, and we are looking at mobilizing savings for investment. I'm quite sure you do not want to be part of those people who have heard that they will have to attach their assets in regards to a loan that they took. That is one of what we'll be talking about here. And joining me to drive this conversation very fast is Mandira Sharma, Manager Banking, Financial Services and Insurance at Microsave Consulting. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
I've seen the essence of savings. Why is it that it's very important and essential for financial inclusivity in Kenya today, and especially when you talk about Saccos? A lot of people are shifting from recognized banks to savings and credits cooperatives.
Thank you so much for that. So Saccos are an integral sort of inclusive financial instrument in Kenya's architecture of financial inclusion. Saccos are able to serve mobilize assets and savings of about 300 billion shillings. And they're able to serve customers who are marginalized, low-income rural households who do not have access to financial service providers, who do not have access to banks, for example. And they're able to reach those customers who do not have a credit history, they do not have collateral, and they're not able to easily sort of go to the banks and acquire credit. So I think it's very important for Saccos to be capitalized, to be given capacity building trainings, because these are the ones who are serving around 40 to 45% of the Kenyan population, which is unserved by, again, financial service providers, our private banks, our government banks, who are only providing credit to the upper middle income households rather than the lower income households, which are the driving growth to GDP, which are the SMEs, the micro small enterprises, small medium enterprises, and even the medium growing income enterprises. So these are the backbone of GDP for the entire country, which are being provided credit by these Saccos. So I think the investment point of view from the Saccos is huge, and there is where the government needs to sort of put in effort to capitalize them, to mobilize them, to capacity and train them so that they're able to serve those segments which are actually lacking income credit.
Talking about unique advantages, what exactly are the unique advantages of savings in a Sacco, especially for low-income households, just like you mentioned, as opposed to banks that have a big asset base? I joined a Sacco around 10 years ago, and I know why I'm in a Sacco, and I've already tested the bank. Why is it especially unique for low-income households?
So Saccos, firstly, when you go to a Sacco, you might have seen you do not require collateral, right? So they ask you to sort of set up a cash base or a savings base with us, with them. For example, 6 months, if you're able to save with them, they'll provide you with that credit. So they won't ask you for any tangible asset which you need to provide to the Sacco to be able to get the credit. In those 6 months after that, you can get that credit. So you just have to save for those 6 months, and I think it varies from Sacco to Sacco. The other thing is, a lot of Saccos are sort of embedded in the value chain. So they do understand the customers very well. They do understand what are the requirements of those customers. For example, if they're looking at serving agri customers, then they understand that agri customers have a seasonal requirement of cash. They can only pay after harvest. So they're able to sort of set those credit terms and limits according to that. They're able to offer those grace periods and loan periods according to their income cycles, vis-a-vis banks, which do not necessarily understand this segment of the customer very well. So they're not able to sort of tailor and customize those products according to the customers. The other thing is they're able, since these are a community of members, and a lot of women are also part of these savings and credit cooperatives. Since they're a community of members, they come together, they pool their resources. They're also able to get sort of capital intensive training. They're also able to get financial management training. They're able to get training on how to sort of use logbooks, how to invest greater details in their businesses, especially for MSMEs, which is a key requirement. And the other thing is that they're also sort of able to solve the inclusion barriers which I was talking about earlier, where these are embedded in rural systems or even in low-income households who are sort of very, very far removed from the formal banking infrastructure. So in order to serve them, these Saccos are rightly situated in areas where they are definitely present, plus they understand the needs of the customers, and then they are able to customize the products to the needs of the customers. So they're able to serve them efficiently and better.
What policy frameworks or regulatory frameworks are essential to help Saccos scale more sustainably?
That's a good question. So firstly, it's important, and a lot of countries have started doing it. For example, in India, right now, credit cooperatives are called savings groups or self-help groups. They are sort of being digitized. So they are developing an app which is in India, it's called LocOS. Even in Nigeria, they're doing a similar thing. So when you digitize those applications, when you're digitizing the manual record keeping, what you're in sense doing is developing a credit history, which is necessarily not present with Saccos in Kenya right now. So when you're able to develop that credit history, you're also able to sort of digitize the Sacco, improve the manual operations where they're going digital, and then you're able to decently connect them to a bank, or even better, you're able to provide, when donors and government come into place, they're able to see that credit history, they're able to see the transactions that are taking place, and they're able to provide them with the necessary credit without, again, collateral. So the digitization of Saccos is one thing which is very important. The other thing is also sort of getting them into federated structures where you can have more pooling of resources, more pooling of savings, and then the aggregation of Saccos, which I think is very important. Kenya has like 350 deposit-taking and non-deposit-taking Saccos. So if you're able to sort of aggregate these together, then the pooling of resources will be better. And that helps in sort of also getting external funding from donors and even from the government. So these are some of the steps, I think, which are very, very important. And again, the other thing is a lot of these Saccos lack the financial management training, the governance structures. So if we can sort of get the government involved in sort of training them and then progressing them to the next level, that will be very great, and it will help in sort of increasing and improving this inclusive financial infrastructure, which Saccos are a key component of.
Yes, it's a good thing that you've mentioned cybersecurity, and especially when it comes to theft. But how can Saccos, and especially Cusco, that is, we've seen an article in regards to that, to protect the customers' deposits from being mismanaged by even managers? We've seen cases in court.
So, as I have already mentioned, firstly, if a lot of these funding, a lot of the savings that is happening right now is manual. So firstly, what we need to do, and I think that is the step towards is digitizing these savings. We need a certain sort of record of members' savings where the member can look into how much they have saved, and it forms part of the governance and the infrastructure, so that even the management of the board of directors, everybody can see how much the members are saving, so that forms a digital record, and that's definitely decreases the leakages that are happening in the system right now. The other thing is, a lot of governance issues which the Sacco faces is also because of this digital exclusion that is currently happening. So if we can get some sort of, for example, if Cusco can get some sort of security guarantee funds, where if the depositor's money is not returned back to them, these funds or these guarantee funds are able to sort of cover it and provide that sort of guarantee, which also enables the depositor to have trust in the system. So I think both of these together, the digital savings and the guarantee funds together, can sort of really, really help to save firstly the money for both of us, for all of us, and also for the borrower to have the trust in the system is also very important.
And we have, my last question, we have a very robust Sacco movement in Kenya, which is actually the best in Africa, and I think we are top 5 in the whole world. How has this transformed women groups, especially because we are seeing they are really moving the economy as we wind up?
So I think especially in East Africa and especially in Kenya, as you mentioned, women groups are very, very important. They are a backbone of the country's GDP. Also because a lot of these groups are involved in MSMEs, where they're doing small, medium enterprises, which need credit. So Saccos have been able to sort of lend to these, provide them with working capital, provide them with support. Also there's a social collateral component of it, which helps them not to sort of rely on tangible collateral. So when these elements come together, and then there is again a huge component which women have, which is of trust, which they're able to sort of depend on the counterparts, they're able to depend on the system. So I think just strengthening these aspects of it, digitizing it, we can also take out more money out of these cooperative groups and also be able to get them more capital and cash, because right now the biggest issue with Saccos and especially serving women is that they're undercapitalized. So in order to capitalize them, it's important for the government and donors to come in and put in money into these systems and also digitize them, so these processes can be made more efficient, and this will definitely help groups women groups especially succeed and go further in their systems.
Mandira Sharma, thank you indeed so much for your time and your insight.
So
we have been looking at mobilizing savings for investment, and especially when it comes to Sacco, they are a game changer in the country. As I said, we rank highly in Africa as #1, and we are on the global map. Sports next. Sports news is up next.
Thank you.